hello, everyone. Oh, gotta take that off real quick. Hello, everyone. Hi, it is More Moon here on the new. Forgot to hit record on my own. Let's see. Uh, on my own end. Let's see.
Now recording.
So, hello, everybody. Hello, all of the. Oh, this is weird. It's cutting off my hat. Let's see. Let's try this again real quick. I'm going to put it right here. How about that? Awesome. And then let me move myself up. There we go. Okay, now we're going to do it this time. Hello, everybody. It's been a while since I've done this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amora and the Paranormal. Actually, no, it's not called Amora and the Paranormal anymore. It's called Waxing Weird. So, like the phases of the moon, right? And so, I hope you're excited about this new, journey that we're going on with the changing of the title of this podcast and what it looks like. It's going to look very similar to what we've tried in the past with More in the Paranormal. And if you are an audio only listener, I guess later on down the line, if you don't know what More in the Paranormal is, you can find that on my YouTube. You just look up Amora Paranormal on YouTube and you will find me there. Yeah, so with this start of Waxing Weird, welcome to Waxing Weird. Again, going over the the moon phases because I'm a Mora moon. Get it? Get it? Yeah? Okay. Also, why is my logo right there? It's a scuff stream. I just want you to know. I'm gonna put it right here. Until I figure out what I want to do with the logo on my desk, I'm just gonna rock with the regular Amora moon on my desk for right now. So, I usually do this show with a guest of some sort. I'm going to be opening that guest lineup from just VTubers and creators on Twitch and YouTube and everything like that. And I'm going to also be trying to get some paranormal investigators on this show, and also some witch practitioners, just all around the if it's weird, I'm gonna try to have them on. So that's what the Waxing Weird is looking like for the near future. I'm just trying to get through some housekeeping real quick. If you don't already, follow me on x.com or Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter. AdamWarMoonVT. And if you can follow me also on Instagram, I think it's AdamWarMoonVT as well. And then same thing on TikTok, which if you haven't watched any of my TikToks, they're pretty funny. I like them. They're just like little clips of where I keep a lot of clips from just past Amora and the Paranormals. They get also just show updates, like when I'm going to be doing it, like another Waxing Weird episode, so look out for that. And they just keep you up to date with what I'm doing and the funny hijinks and the weirdness and the paranormal that we all love. I am also, let's see, okay, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, I think that about does it. Oh, and then TikTok, of course. That about does it on social media for me. So the layout for these shows is promo time. We exchange everything. I get a little bit of background about the VTuber usually. I'm gonna give a little bit of my background. I mean, if you've been following this channel or been following me on any social media, you know I am a VTuber. I'm a witch. And I am a paranormal investigator and researcher. So I like to do that stuff. I'm going to be doing more live, like you'll see IRL Amora, I guess, in the next, I would hope next couple of months, as we journey into spring and we get to like actually go out and do things and have fun and do a lot more research. Yeah, so you'll be seeing a lot of that. But yeah, I'm Amora Moon, and I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a little different than every other episode because I usually try to do the layout is usually do promo, then we play a couple of games, which I'm going to be playing a couple of games. They're just like a little icebreaker game, so you can get to know me and what I believe, I guess. And then we jump right in to personal paranormal like history. Um Anything weird that's gone on, anything weird they've seen in the last couple of days, is what usually More in the Paranormal does. And then we do the story, and then we do like our closing little remarks and outros and stuff like that. So the thing that's changing is I will now be um, doing a segment instead of like my hit it or quit it thing, which is just like a yes or no, like do you believe it or do you not believe it type thing. I'm going to do it on a scale, and it's going to be the moon phases scale. And so if you don't like, if you've not seen the moon phases like laid out for you, I'm going for something like, let me let me pop it up on here. If you're audio only, just Google the moon phases, I guess. But yes, this is also going to be in podcast form as well. I'm working on that as we speak, and we'll get those out as soon as possible. Let me see. I'm gonna pop this on here. I didn't have this ready. Sorry. I was in a rush getting here. So it'll be something like this. So I am going from waning to waxing, waxing to waning, and then full. Like I fully believe that this is, in waxing being I kind of believe it, and then waning is like I don't like I kind of don't believe it, and then the fourth choice is like a new moon. Like, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it in it at all. And I'm just going to try to get like a little gradient scale, where they'll get to actually take time and think about like where they believe. It gives me a more like precise. So like instead of the hit it or quit it or smash or pass when it comes to phenomenon, right? I've done a huge list of like Bigfoot, aliens, Loch Ness monster, Roswell, you know, and just go down the list, and then we'll try to get each one just like where they fall on the gradient scale instead of hard fast yes or no. I just feel like that's going to be a lot more productive. So that is going to be called I just have got it on the phases of belief. If you have a cooler name than that, then by all means tell me. I'm all ears. I'm just like, that's just one of my fun, cool ideas. Right now, I won't be doing that because it's a lightning round type thing. I mean, they'll get like a little time, but they just have to pick out of those. I'm not going to be doing that, but the next guest that I have on will definitely be doing that, and it will be so much fun. So, but there is one thing that I am keeping, and I'm going to go to it right now, and it is my like favorite part. Let me pop this on screen, and this is going to be horrible for audio only listeners, but if you can keep up with your bracket, it is a huge thing. It's a bracket of 32 entities, right? And I will pop that on screen, but for the audio only people, I'll just go down. So at the 1 seed, it is Grays. At the 16 seed is the Ghost. 9 seed Chupacabra. 8 seed Dogman. 5 seed Hatman. 12 seed Jackalope. 13 seed, and this is just like they're going up against 13 seed versus 4 seed is Atlantis playing, like doing Flatwoods Monsters playing. I'm already in March Madness mode too, so like we got to get out of that. 3 is MIB going against Mirrorman. 11 is Loch Ness Monster going against number 6 Goblins. Number 7 Goatman is going up against number 10 Dover Demon. And 15, the topic of today, Black Eyed Kids is going up against number 2 Mothman. And so it's my turn to do this bracket. And then there might be another huge host of whatever games that, you know, I decide to do later on. I just wanted to mix it up a little bit, just to have a little icebreaker sort of games before we get started on the paranormal conversation. So, without further ado, I'm going to be doing my own bracket. So let's start off at the top, Grays and Ghost. All right, I do love the Grays, and I do love Ghost. If you've listened to any sort of media that I've put out in the past year or so, I am like, if I'm ranking the big 3 when it comes to the phenomenon of like cryptids, ghost, and aliens, right? So like, those being the big 3. I know that's like a really shallow, I guess, way to like put it, or simplistic way to put it, whenever it comes to like the phenomenons that we experience in the paranormal. But I think like that's the way I'm using it right now. So I would rank cryptids, then aliens, then ghost, I would say. And that could switch up a little bit. Aliens and cryptids switch up. Ghost literally stays there at the bottom. And it's not anything against Ghost. Like, I love Ghost. I love like paranormal investigating for just Ghost. Love going out using my SB7, using you know, listing in for taps, you know, or like, and then I love like ghost hunting shows, you know, like Kindred Spirits. Sorry, I couldn't think of the name. I love like, what is it? Project Fear. I love Project Fear. There's goes at Project Fear is so cool, and I just love them. If you haven't already, you need to watch Kindred Spirits, and make sure that they get. I don't know. I'm not really that adept in like paranormal news, but Kindred Spirits was also a really great show. And then you gotta love like Ghost Hunters International and things like that. That whole TAPS crew like got me into this stuff as well. Yeah, so I love Ghost, but I love Grays so much. I love the Grays, and I'm taking forever on this one question, but I'm gonna have to go with the Grays on this one because they just edge out the Ghost a little bit more. Chupacabra or Dogman? That's a little tough. That's pretty tough. And I made this list, and I'm just going back. Actually, I think this was like from my last episode. I was just like, my last episode of More in the Paranormal, which is now waxing weird. Let's see, Chupacabra or Dogman. I'm gonna go Chupacabra on this one. So we're gonna go Chupacabra. I don't really have any explanation for why. I just think Chupacabra is interesting, and you know, I got to. Hatman or Jackalope? Jackalope. I just want you to know, the Hatman and just all shadow folk, like, scary as I'll get out. if I'm going about just what I want and what I like right now, I'm gonna have to go Jackalope here. I love that. Do I believe in the Jackalope? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it's a real entity, but I'm gonna have to go with Jackalope. Let's see, and then Atlantis versus the Flatwoods Monster. I'm just going to tell you this right now. Once we get to the Atlantis episode of Waxing Weird, wherever that is, right? Whoever that's with, I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum, but I'm going to say that when we I'll be okay. Like, it'll be an okay episode. The research, the talking about it, be okay. Yeah, I think there'll be good discussion. But the Flatwoods Monster episode, though, bro, will be so good. I'm so upset we haven't gotten to yet. I almost did it this episode because if nobody picks it later on in Waxing Weird, I will literally do it for a solo episode. That's how much I love the Flatwoods Monster. I just want you to know it's the scariest, but also coolest looking cryptid alien from Braxton County, West Virginia. I just need the Flatwoods Monster in my life. If you have any Flatwoods Monster merch, hit me up. I'd buy it. That's it. That's all I have to say. I feel like I just I let you know what's going on, in the bracket. Okay, so MIB or Mirrormen. Mirrormen freak me out, but so do MIB. So do MIB. But I like the MIB more. Like, the lore of MIB is so good. It's so good. I'm gonna have to do 4 different episodes of MIB for Waxing Weird, and that's gonna be so much fun. But that MIB's got it. Loch Ness Monster or Goblins? I'm a huge Hopkinsville Goblins fangirl, but I'm also a huge Loch Ness Monster fangirl. I think what's going to edge this out right now is it's time for that time of year for my Hellier rewatch. I usually do one around spring when we start for spring. So yeah, I'm probably going to go the Goblins. Yeah, Goblins are going to be that. Ooh, Goatman or the Dover Demon? Oof. Now, are we talking about the Goatman over at Old Alton Bridge in Texas? If we're talking about that, maybe. If we're talking about the Dover... But the Dover Demon, it looks like a little guy. Looks like a little guy. I'm going to go Dover Demon. Dover Demon here. Okay, topic of the day. Black Eyed Kids going against Mothman. Oof. This isn't even a challenge. I just want you to know. Mothman takes the cake because he's got cake. That's what I'm saying to you, dear listener. And that's it. That's all I was going to say. All right, now we've got the second round. Let's see. Greys going against Chupacabra. Chupacabra and Greys. I think Chupacabra won easily last time, but I don't think they're going to get it this time. I think Greys are there. Greys are going on to advance. The Jackalope or the Flatwoods Monster. Again, the Jackalope got away scot-free just because I was wanting... I liked the Jackalope aesthetically. A little wabbit with deer antlers. Crazy, cool, I'm all about it. Flatwoods Monster, on the other hand, is I don't know what, but looks cooler. Remember, Amora Moon is a Flatwoods Monster fangirl. That's all you need to know about this show, this podcast, this anything. Waxing Weird is, at the end of the day, Amora Moon's going to choose the Flatwoods Monster at the end of the day. That's all you, yeah. So get used to it. Alrighty, the MIB against goblins. This one's a little tough. A little tougher. I don't know where I'm going with this. Like, in on one hand, you have the Men in Black that come and bother you after you see that you have an encounter, right? You have the goblins who bother you no matter what, right? So it's a toss-up right here. It's a toss-up. I don't even have a coin to flip right now. I need a coin to flip. Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch, take a breath's toe. We're gonna go with Men in Black. Okay. That was rough. That's tough. All right, the Dover Demon and Mothman. We're not even gonna. You know. There ain't no quit in Mothman or Mothman's. You already know. The Greys and Flatwoods Monster. The Greys have made it as far as they're going to get. Because Flatty is here to stay. Alrighty? MIB and Mothman. And the same with Mothman. Mothman is going to rise to the occasion. You can't be a 2 seed and then lose. But that's what's happening this next round with Flatwoods Monster against Mothman. Because Mothman is going to take the biggest L of his life. Their life, really. We don't know. We just say Mothman. And if you haven't checked out that episode of Mothman from Amore and the Paranormal back in, that's episode 1 of Amore and the Paranormal, where me and Mega Rad Creature talk about Mothman and the history and sightings of Mothman. So that's a fun episode. Go check it back on my YouTube at Amore Paranormal. But Mothman's not getting out of this. He's not like, he might be coming up double cheeked up on a Friday afternoon, right? But the Flatty is going to win. That's all I have to say. All right. We are going to have a champion, and it's the Flatwoods Monster of Braxton County. And I always knew I'm going to say my girl. My girl would win. She's the best. They're the best. Yeah. So that is my bracket right there. Flatwoods Monster winning it out. And that final 2 is Flatwoods Monster and Mothman. That's about where I said, I've always talked to my previous guest about this and said that, oh yeah, they would go to the final 2 and it would have to be Flatwoods Monster. But yeah, Flatwoods is always going to win. Is always going to take the cake. And she did with Mothman. There we go. All right. So now that we're done with that, see, doing this by myself is a little tricky because I don't have anybody to banter with. If you have any questions or anything in chat, shoot them towards my way. But yes, so now I'm going to talk about my own personal paranormal history. I really don't have any. To be quite fair, this is like where in Amora, in the paranormal, I think I actually did this out of order. So like the format is going to be a little different. So it usually goes, nah, it's fine. It's fine this way. Just so we can get to know each other. And then we're going to talk about, just like this format will do. Sweet. I like it this way. So we ice break, then ask, then get into the story. I think that works better. So my personal like paranormal history or anything I've seen, I haven't really seen anything yet. I have always been interested in the paranormal. Whenever I was a little kid, my grandparents, during the summers, during a lot of summers, would take us to, take me and my siblings to Roswell, and we would do the whole Roswell thing of going to like the museum and then to all the UFO themed stuff. So, and even to like the parade, the UFO parade. It's so much fun every year. I loved going to Roswell. It's where my grandfather worked for a while, and he like would always share like the alien stuff. We would go to I went to the museum every single time that we went. It never got boring for me. I loved, uh you know. And then of course like getting into ghost hunting shows and stuff like that has like shaped how I investigate. Some people that like have shaped like me actually jumping in and jumping into paranormal investigation, um were people like Greg and Dana Newkirk, who have done it for years. And then like just the entire Planet Weird crew, I would say. They helped me jump into like paranormal investigation, and they like inspired me to do so. I also and inspired Amora to be a thing. So yeah, definitely give them credit as well. I also just like this weird stuff and always have liked this weird stuff. I come from a very like superstitious family, I guess, in the way that um I have always I've never been met with any of these ideas in my family, met with any sort of judgment or what's the word, sort of like skepticism in a lot of ways, because they all think, something out there does exist. There's something more than the reality that we see. And yes, I mean, a lot of their being raised in the Southwest, a lot of their ideas of the paranormal are sort of under the like umbrella of like Christianity, and through the lens of Christianity, I would say. And so like everything's a demon, everything's like demonic, blah blah blah. Anything like that you can't understand is demonic, but it's never met with like, oh, I just don't believe in that. Like they would always say like, oh no, that stuff is real, but it's demonic. And so that shaped a lot of their paranormal like ideas. And so that sort of shaped a lot of mine for a lot of years. um but yeah, so that's just like a little tidbit of my paranormal history. I decided to do this, to do a Mora Moon, and created her in um and decided to do a Mora Moon in like I think it was 2021. But I had the idea in 2020. I was like, this is what I wanted to do. So like whenever like we are on lockdown here in the States, like a Mora Moon was like what I wanted to try to do, like a sort of like a paranormal talk show host, akin to like Coast to Coast, but also like with the mixture and flair and like funniness of like an Elvira type thing. So that's where like a Mora Moon comes from, and like what I want to do with a Mora Moon, if you didn't already know that. And if you don't know what I like, if you're just audio only on this, if you don't know what I look like, you can go to my avatar or my VTube model looks like. Then you can go to my Twitter, at a Mora Moon VT. It'll be easy to find. Unless I'm on a search suggestion ban from Twitter, that's another thing. But anyway, So yeah, that's a little bit about me and a little bit about my paranormal history. I would love to know yours as well. And this is a good segue, real quick. I would love to know your paranormal history. If you have a paranormal like story of any kind, if you've seen Bigfoot, if you've seen Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever, or if you've seen the Flatwoods Monster, you better tell me, and then I'll try to be there yesterday. Yeah. So if you all jokes aside, like I would love to hear about your paranormal story. I would love to potentially read it on Waxing Weird. I would love to have a Waxing Weird listener story episode where it's everybody that listens to this show. Email me, and it'll pop up on the screen right now. My email will. You can do that by going to mailforamora@gmail.com, and that's spelling out for, so FOR. So it's mailforamora@gmail.com. Mailforamora@gmail.com with any of your listener stories. I could not say that. But yeah, if you have any sort of weird story, I would love to hear it and love to dive in and discuss with the guest, whoever it might be, about your story and what it could mean or what it could be, and come get to the bottom of it. So yeah, again, that email is mailforamora@gmail.com. That's mailforamora@gmail.com. Sweet, 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 sweet. I am so happy to get those emails in. And let's see. Waxing Weird is sponsored by Moon Juice. No, just kidding. I don't have any sponsors again, but if you'd like this show, keep listening and then we'll get sponsors, I guess. Or not, whatever I decide. All right. So let's see. Where are we? It's going to be a little shorter episode today just because it's by myself. And usually I have like somebody to banter with a little bit. So this is going to be a little weird. So today I want to talk to you about a sort of story that I feel has become like a hyper focus for me in the last couple of years, and it is like one of the stories that I keep coming back to for Waxing Weird and in my more in the paranormal episodes, because I talk about it every time. And it's one that me and my VTuber friend Awiel Boof Kitty at Awiel Boof Kitty, if you want to go check her stuff out. She has amazing streams, so yeah, go give her a follow, go check her out. That we talk about, like her and I talk about, is the entity known as the Black Eyed Kids. And so that's what we are going to be talking about today. And yeah, so let me get my stuff pulled up. I know I'm just the best podcast host ever, I guess, or just any sort of host ever, I guess. But yeah, so we are talking about the Black Eyed Kids. Okay, why is it not opening? Okay, let's do this. Let's open, filling in this dead air real quick. All right. So we'll be talking about the Black Eyed Kids. This is the scariest picture in the world. I just want you to know that. Children scare me. Anyway, so this is a quote from Jason Offit. He's written about a lot of phenomenon, ghost, I think cryptids, and just all about the phenomenon. He's a author about the phenomenon, and he's written extensively over the black-eyed children. So, it's a quote from him: "The children approach quietly, yet forcefully. They insist on coming inside your house to use the telephone or get a drink of water. For some reason, these children frighten you. And as your hand reaches up to open the door, you see why. Their eyes are black. No iris, no whites, just an empty, soulless void." So, today on the first episode of this new show called Waxing Weird, it's not the first episode of me doing this show ever. It is just the first episode of Waxing Weird. And my first solo episode of Waxing Weird as well. So, solo dolo and jumping into a topic that excites me. And you already know that I'm kind of obsessed with this topic, like I just discussed. I've done a TikTok about it, of reviewing a video that you need to see my TikTok, and you know my reaction of seeing like a black-eyed kid video of this one gentleman who is like getting on there and found a sound that's related to the black-eyed kids in some way, and he plays it throughout his like from his house window, and he tries to lure the black-eyed kids. It's very, I couldn't explain it to you, but I have a video of reacting to that, and it's really popular on TikTok. I chat with every guest about it that I've had on Amore on the Paranormal. And if you would look at my YouTube search history, you'd probably be astounded about how many videos I watch about black-eyed kids daily. And you should see like my podcast like history as well. If you could see my podcast history, you'd be like, this girl is obsessed with black-eyed kids. But today I'm talking about the alarming adolescents known as black-eyed children, or the black-eyed kids, the BEKs. So to start this subject out, we have to go back to where the legend supposedly began. There might be earlier accounts, but this is where the approximation of where it began. Or more aptly to be said as the first time it was jotted down or written down. And for that setting, we have to go deep in the heart of West Texas in a small town known as Abilene. Now, before I continue, I want to acknowledge that I got this information from this man's interview with Ryan Sprague on the podcast Somewhere in the Skies. Shout out to Ryan. I love the work he does in Somewhere in the Skies, and just all around work in ufology. So the year is 1995, and a man who is also a reporter for the Abilene Reporter News by the name of Brian Bethel drove down to his local branch of Camelot to pay his internet bill, or whatever bill it's. I don't know. It might be his internet bill. He intended to leave a check in their night slot. For those of younger persuasion, this is how you had to pay your bills back in the day. Just kidding. So while he was sitting in his car writing the check in the light spilling from the foyer of the nearby Westwood Theater, there was a firm knock on the window. 2 children stood there, boys between 9 and 12 years old. Brian opened the window a little, and the nearest child, or as Brian calls him, the spokesman, asked if they could get a ride back to their moms. They'd come to see a movie, Mortal Kombat, but had left their money home. Immediately, Brian said he felt a wave of inexplicable fear wash over him and did not know where it came from. And he said it didn't make any sense. Brian replied to the spokesman that he didn't think it would be a great idea, and then that he can't because he was just there to drop off his bills and leave. The spokesman kept insisting, saying things like, "It isn't that far. We just need a quick ride." and Brian saw that the spokesman was growing increasingly frustrated. Then the spokesman said, "Look, mister, we're just two little kids. We don't have a gun or anything." Brian then felt the fear mount to a fever pitch. And still, he doesn't know why. Then, with the most clarity in any paranormal encounter that I've ever covered, asked the two quote-unquote children what movie they were going to see. They replied with Mortal Kombat. Bethel then asked, "What show are you guys wanting to see?" Bethel then looks at the marquee, and it says the last showing of Mortal Kombat starts at 9:30 p.m. Then he looked at his clock on his car, and it was already 9:50. He then puts it together and thinks that even if he does help these kids, and even with how small Abilene is, that they would miss a huge portion of the movie, and it wouldn't even be worth it at that time. Understanding that, he looks over at them, and he finally notices the thing that is wrong, that has been bothering him and frightening him the entire time. Their eyes. As he says, they were absolutely coal black, but reflective. Another thing that Brian points out is that there was no life in their eyes, just an emptyless, soulless void. As he puts it, it was like looking to a void. At that point, Brian begins to panic and feels he needs to get the hell out of Dodge and get away from them. He then stammers to make an excuse to them, and he says he needs to go do something and says he cannot and hopes they find a ride. He nervously rolls up the window as fast as he can, and just as he gets it up, the spokesman starts slamming on the window. As Bethel describes, he was absolutely beating on it, and he could tell that the spokesman was furious. To add to the already sufficiently terrifying and strange encounter, the child in the back had a bewildered look on his face. And up to this point, he had not spoken or not moved. But he had this bewildered look on his face as if to say, "This isn't how this is supposed to go." As the spokesman continues to slam on the window, he states, "Mister, we can't come inside your car unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." In the biggest nope in history, Bethel throws the car into reverse and gets out of there as quickly as possible. He then looks in his rearview mirror, and they're gone. And as he describes it, there's no cars in the parking lot, so they couldn't have ducked behind a car. And the way that he was positioned, they couldn't have ran in either spot without him seeing. Weird. Definitely weird. It was later reported by Brian Bethel, that and this is just me approximating, I don't have this written down. He later on in the podcast talks about, like, and I encourage you to go watch that, listen to that podcast. It is Black Eyed Kids, Somewhere in the Skies. If you Google that, you'll find the episode. I forget which episode it is, but it's also, if you just love anything UFO related, Somewhere in the Skies is your podcast. You need to listen to that. But he later goes on to, like, he had friends, one of which was a intuitive in some way, psychic in one way, and he was like recounting the story, but he didn't get to the description of like the kids or anything. And the intuitive like looks over at him, and she says the eyes were black. And he didn't tell her this. He just was like, "Oh, yeah." And she just says to him, "Well, good thing you didn't let them in, or you would have died," I believe is what she said. And it was just like terrifying plot twist of the thing. So, but yes, go listen to that. he gets into more detail than that, and then they talk about black-eyed kids as a phenomenon as well, and we're going to touch on that as well. But it's just going to be me. Now you might say, Amora, Brian Bethel, like you said, is a reporter. He writes this stuff down. And he must have wanted to get famous or rich off of this story. And that's just not true. Like a lot of people who come forward with their paranormal encounters, back then and even now, it's not really a lucrative thing. You kind of, I believe, like a lot of people have reported, and I think Brian Bethel reported this as well, that like his life didn't go anywhere from there. He just like it kind of suffered because people like looked at him weird because of this encounter. Because you don't want to be the crazy person with that, especially in a small town, and especially in Texas. You don't want to be seen as like the weird UFO or the weird, strange guy. You know, you don't want to be seen as that. So, yeah. So that kind of like debunks that, and then you might say, "Oh yeah, he just made it up because he's like really good at storytelling." And that's a good good thought. I think like you could. He's just really good at crafting a story, and yeah, I guess, but he doesn't really cover that. I don't think he. I think what he covers is like it's not even. I think it's politics, and it's like he was covering politics at the time. I'd have to look that up again, or business or politics, something like that. But yeah, it's not. And Brian Bethel, if you're ever listening to this, please correct me. I don't know for a fact. It's something that's not related to any sort of fiction or tabloid-esque reporting. Like, he's not doing that. He's doing something that is completely contrary to even this. And he most likely comes from a religious background just because it is in the middle of West Texas. So, yeah. Now, onto the background coverage of these creatures has claimed that the tales of black-eyed children have existed since the 1980s. But most sources indicate that the legend originated from 1996, postings written by Brian Bethel. So, he also found out later that there was a second supposed encounter that happened somewhere in Portland, Oregon. These are the first documented accounts that we know of. So what we know is black-eyed children or black-eyed kids is an urban legend or of paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16. These creatures have pale skin and black eyes and have been reportedly seen hitchhiking, panhandling, or at the doorsteps of residential homes, which is a huge nope from me. I'm going to tell you right now, residential homes, I want you to, after doing this research, this has freaked me out that one of them is going to come to my home. I do not invite that into my space, all right? No. Heck no. You're getting a big nope for me. You're getting a big nope for me. Hell no. But anyway, so a dozen of stories keep circulating, all following a very similar pattern. Kids with eyes completely blacked out appear at people's homes, or in front of their vehicle, knock on the door, and insist upon getting inside. Anyone who encountered them has almost immediately felt like an overwhelming sense of dread. Besides blacked out eyes, these children typically appear normal. Sometimes their attire seems outdated. In extremely unusual instances, people have reported encountering creatures with talon-like feet as well. So that's a weird little, that's something that like makes them sort of bird-like as well. They got black eyes and then they have like talon-like feet. They're birds. The birds are the birds. No one knows where or how these creatures pop up. So conspiracy theorists believe that black-eyed children are aliens trying to reach out to their Earth, quote unquote. So yeah, so these are all the there's multiple opinions about like what the black-eyed children are. Conspiracy theorists think that they're trying to reach out to their Earth or their planet. Demonologists believe that they are children of the devil himself, and if you let them in, you are allowing the devil to enter your life. Are there some sort of demonic presence that they want to enter your home, to call their parents? However, upon making so yeah, they just have so many ideas about. They want to enter your home, right? That's one thing they know. To call their parents sometimes, and upon making eye contact, it seems like there is a sinister plot to the story. Science writer Sharon A. Hill was unable to find any documentation of black-eyed child encounters in her like scientific research besides the Brian Bethel story. And she concluded that tales are passed on as a friend of a friend ghost story. Hill considers the legend to resemble typical spooky folklore stories such as the Phantom Black Dog, where the subject is not supernatural, and that there may never have been an actual original encounter. I don't agree with the Sharon A. Hill story anyway, but because it's ludicrous. And then Snopes, the fact-checking website, qualifies BEKs or black-eyed kids as a legend. So what do you think they are? What are some of your ideas about this phenomenon? Do you think that they are real? Do you think they're fake? Do you think... I've talked extensively, again, with like a lot of people about this, and I've been talking with... I was just having a conversation yesterday, again going back to Awiel, who I'm going to be showing a couple of her a couple of videos that she presented to me as well, of her idea of, which is a very valid idea of like, no, they're just a modern creepypasta. Like they're just a creepypasta. Like they are a modern tale that we have invented, and that, whether you think it or not, that Brian Bethel created in the early stages of the internet in 1995 and 96 and 97, that it isn't real. Like it's just a copy. It's a creepypasta. It's like one of the very first, and like how it's also it's also like a game, an ARG, and I forget what ARG stands for. I gotta look that up real quick. Alternate reality game that was like marketed towards paranormal enthusiast, and so so like it could be a multitude of things. I just want to know, what do you think they are? Like, do you think that they're demons? Do you think that they're aliens? Do you think that they're like the child of the Men in Black? With this story, it kind of seems that way, or like could be seen that way. So it goes like this. In a snowy town within the middle of nowhere, Vermont, an elderly couple heard the sound of 3 loud knocks on their door. They opened the door and saw 2 children, a boy and a girl. Parents will be here soon. May we come in? The children did not make eye contact and just stood there in the doorway. The elderly couple were hesitant, but after a while, they let the boy and girl inside. The kids settled on the couch, while the wife made some hot cocoa and the husband asked them questions that went unanswered. The wife returned and noticed that her cat was scared and angry with the children. May we please use the restroom? The wife looked at the kids, and she finally saw them. The children's eyes were as black as a starless universe. She directed them to the bathroom and returned to her husband, who was covering his face with his hand. Did you see their eyes? The husband then showed her his hands, full of blood, with a nosebleed. The power suddenly went out, and the house turned as dark as the kids' eyes. The wife headed to the restroom and was confused by the voice of the kids at the hall uttering, "Our parents are here." The kids then exited the house, leaving the door wide open. The wife then noticed that there was two men at the end of the driveway. The men were very tall and slender. The wife waved, but did not receive the same friendly gesture. The two men and children then drove away together in one car. The power then came back on a little later after the kids left. Throughout the next week, weird things happened in the house. 3 out of 4 cats went missing, and the fourth had been found dead in the pool of its own blood. The husband continued to have nosebleeds and finally went to the doctor, and he was diagnosed with aggressive skin cancer. That is another like violent story, going back to Brian Bethel's like friend telling him that he's lucky that he didn't let them in because something bad would have happened, right? It's this idea of black-eyed kids, like what happens when you do let them in? And we've seen in this story and in a lot of other stories that I've seen around that I don't know if I believe or not, of people who have let the kids in, and then their like brother or like a series of unfortunate events happens where like their siblings get into a car wreck, they have cancer, they are diagnosed with a disease of some sort, or they go into debt, whatever happens as a result of letting the kids in. It's something that is super strange. One, like the idea that these black-eyed kids would appear in front of your door or in front of your car, that in itself is weird. And they have like black eyes, that's weird. But then they want to be let in. That idea in itself is very vampire-esque. I don't know, like in modern vampire lore, like we see like them having to be asked to let in. I've been watching True Blood just on and off, and just like the idea that vampires have to be invited in before they can enter. It's very much that idea. And black-eyed kids remind me of the what's it called? The vampires. I don't know if they're vampires or not really. From 30 Days of Night. If anybody's seen that, I'm going to try to pop it up. And let's see. Let's see if I can pop it up. Let's see. There we go. Let's see. So the BEK, I'm going to move the BEK picture real quick. So the BEK looks like this real quick. So just like the sort of like that idea of like just blacked out eyes. And I know like 30 Days of Night, even the graphic novel came, I think, out after this encounter. So 30 Days of Night sort of took inspiration, but it just reminds me of like a vampire encounter. I'm like, you don't see I guess you don't see the black-eyed kids' teeth. I've never heard of seeing their teeth, but that's what it reminds me of in a lot of ways. Like that's what the whole idea, and then the fact that they, you know, that they have like similar situations, their encounters like have similar situations to like UFO encounters where like radiation burns or some sort of cancer that, you know, that follows their encounter with these black-eyed kids. Like the person who encounters these like has something to do with radiation burns or like some sort of burn or some sort of cancer or some sort. That reminds me of like UFO encounters. And then in this story, the Vermont story, it reminds me of, or like the parents, quote unquote, remind me of the Men in Black. Like they come in like tall, slender men. I mean, or they could just be gray aliens. It could be the tall grays coming to pick up the little baby grays. I don't know. I don't know what the Black Eyed Kids are. I have my guesses. I have my curiosities. I want to know. I want to hear from y'all. Like, what do you think the Black Eyed Kids are? Like, do you think they're demons? Do you think they're ghosts? Or some sort of spirit? I guess that could be an option. Do you think? Here's another idea. Do you think that they could possibly, would be, maybe, are they like tulpas? Are they becoming to be tulpas because we're talking about them and we're keeping them alive? Like they're thought forms that we're projecting out into the world. Like one story makes everybody talk about them and everybody believe in them and everybody, like, even in the back of their mind, believe in them, and then they become reality. They become a real thing in real life, like a thought projection, thought form that becomes like manifest. I don't know. I like the Black Eyed Kids is still and will always be for me a phenomenon that like intrigues me and that I will continue to talk about with my guest and with it'll be always on the tournament, and it'll always be on the phases of belief. Like it'll always be on that, because I think that, I think all of the phenomenon is like every aspect that we see of like the paranormal, right? If we see ghosts, if we see UFOs, they're all different parts of the whole, right? Or different manifestations of the whole. I think that the most interesting case is like this one entity that comes up is a big key, which, I guess all of it is, but it's a big key in figuring out what all this stuff is. And I don't know if we're going to figure it out, but it's something that I like, I'm super interested and super invested in, because I don't know if it started out being real or if it was always real, but I know that it has become real, and it is becoming real because we talk about it and we keep it up. And because I want you to know there's a lot of content out there that people are talking about the Black Eyed Kids. There's movies made, right, about Black Eyed Kids. Like Hollywood, pocketed off this, and I think that that's something that has boosted the idea of Black Eyed Kids. So one, I have a couple of things that I want you to do. Keep talking about this stuff. If you have a Black Eyed Kid encounter, let me know. Don't let them in, please. Don't let them in. But actually, do whatever you want, but just don't tell me that you did the bad thing. But yeah, actually just don't let them in. That's all I'm going to say. Do not, and listen to me. Listen to me. Please listen to me. Don't just do the opposite of what I'm about to tell you. Don't let Black Eyed Kids into your home or into your car. You're good people. I understand that. You're trying to help people out. You're trying to help entities out. But don't do this. If you see their black eyes, get out of there. Get out of there. Just get out of there. Don't even let them talk. Get out. Please. All right, that I'll end on that. Don't let them in. Don't let them in. It's not let the right one in. It's don't let them in. All right, that's the tagline for this episode. Don't let them in. Whatever they are, however interested you are in the paranormal, don't let them in. We're going to end right there. And we're going to say, thank you so much for joining me for my first episode of Waxing Weird, but not my first episode of this whole podcast. Waxing Weird will continue as we go, and as we find guests. I'm still doing the figuring out guests and figuring out times that I could record this. But I want you to know that once we get all this going, it'll be fun, and it will be very informational, and it will be funny, and it will be entertaining, because my guests have always been entertaining and great, and that'll continue 100%. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want everybody who may be listening to this in audio format in the future. Yeah, that's you. I'm talking to you. I want you to have a great rest of your week, no matter what week it is, because time is an illusion. And I want you to keep... I was about to say... Stay creepy, stay weird, No. I want you to just be weird. Alright? Just be weird. Just be you. Okay? I will be talking to you soon, and hope you have a great weekend. Great rest of your week. Great weekend whenever you're listening to this. If you're listening back to the playback of this as well, have a great whatever. But I'll see you back, and we'll see you soon. Bye. And going to end